Hi, I'm Darren.
Hi, I'm Gordon.
And we're the two gay reefers. Hey reefers, here we are, another Reefzilla update. And it's been about 6 months since we've put Reefzilla back together again.
About that, yes. It's been a long road coming. We've had lots of ups and downs, lots of good things happening with the tanks, a few bad things happening with the tank. We've lost a few corals. We've had a few corals that have come back from nearly dead. So things are actually starting to come along nicely.
Yeah, especially since we've got the Neptune set up and we've got our temperature fluctuations out of, well, in control.
In control now, yes.
Before they were out of control, now they're in control.
If you haven't checked out the video about our setting up the Neptune and what we worked out straight away when we set that up, check out the video link up here somewhere. It's either here or here, I don't know which side it is, so, somewhere like that. One of the things we are struggling with, and we are about to fix that, is our flow in the tank. At the moment we're running two old, borrowed, I don't know what brand they are, wave makers. And just the flow that's generated from our return pump. So we have got on order, and as soon as it arrives, we'll drop a video about it. Is the Reef Wave
From Red Sea.
We can't wait for this thing to arrive.
But with the Reef Wave, we're going to be replacing those two there because they have to go back. They're just on loan. So we've got a bit of a dilemma. We can either do the Reef Wave on this end, so it pushes all the way across the tank, and then back again, so it'll be a nice flow that way. Or the other option is, because the magnet is fully submersible, we can put it on the overflow on the back wall and have it pushing straight forward. Now I know it does create quite a bit of flow, so I'm not sure which way would be better.
I think this way across the tank, because it's less distance this way, so it's going to create more flow this way than it is that way, in my opinion.
But having a lot stronger flow hit the front wall will actually break it up and randomize it. And
true.
Yeah, tell us your thoughts down below.
And we have got new fish.
We do have new fish. Our last fish settled in quite well. That was our blue Tang Dory, our flame angel Ruby, and then our Banggai Cardinal Jessie. So they all settled in well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we brought Jesse as a mate for Walter, but Walter passed away. I don't think his little old heart was able to cope with the little young Jesse swimming around.
Exactly right.
That's our guess.
So yeah, Jesse's now an orphan again.
Yes. So.
But we'll try and get a couple more Banggai Cardinals. So it was time for some new fish. So we got two new fish. We got Gold Midas Blenny. We've named him
apparently
Pichu.
I say apparently because he's gone into the tank. We've seen him once.
Yes. So he was hanging out on our glass cleaner magnet, but since then we haven't seen him again. It's only been a couple of days, so I'm sure he'll come out.
We're not stressed.
Our second fish was a red-capped fairy wrasse. His name is Yoshi. He's been very shy as well, so the issue is when we introduce new fish is we've got two bullies, Mr. Pinky, who just does it sometimes. He doesn't go over the top, but he's enough just to intimidate the new fish. And then the main culprit is Diego,
the Harlequin Tuskfish.
Yes. He actually chases.
He chases and is a right bully. He's still my favourite fish, but he's a right bully.
Good thing is he is never fast enough to actually nip or anything like that, just chases. But Yoshi has been good. He's actually been hiding under the rocks where Diego has gotten too big to actually get to. And slowly but surely he is making more of an appearance, which is good. So we'll go through now and have a look at some of the fish.
So one thing we did also set up over the last couple of months was the calcium reactor. Everything seems to be working. All of our parameters seem to be close enough to being where we want them to be. We haven't gone overboard with the CO2 running through it. It's really a very small trickle going through. But it seems to be keeping our alkalinity around about that sort of high 7, low 8s. Our calcium seems to be sitting around that 420 to 430 mark.
Yeah, about 430 to 440.
There you go. Yep. I do the testing, but I don't record it. He records it, I just give him the reading and I forget what it is 2 minutes later. So.
And our magnesium's been hanging around the 1300, 1320. So everything's pretty much in balance. Our nitrates have been fairly low as well, so they've been down to 1. Over the last weekend, I forgot no pox because I manually dose that at the moment.
We had a few important things happen over the last weekend.
Check out our last video and you'll see exactly what that was. But it went up to about 8 after not dosing no pox. So obviously dosing no pox, if you start it, is very important to keep going with it.
Yeah. Once you start it, you just can't turn it. You can't just stop because everything just goes back to where it was. So.
But the good thing is our nitrates haven't been getting high, and I have been feeding the corals fairly heavily as well. So I've been doing Reef-Roids about twice a week. So that's just a blanket feed, just dump a bit in some tank water, turn off all the pumps and just dump it in. The other thing we've been dosing is Reef Energy by Red Sea, A and B. So same thing, that's been going in about twice a week as well.
2 of our favourite products out there, or favourite brands out there, Red Sea, we just love their products, and PolypLab with their Reef-Roids, their lenses, their torches, all the bits and pieces that PolypLab have out there are great. We love using those things. So.
With feeding the corals, I think that's made a big improvement on some of the acros in particular. It's mainly just dialing in the tank for acros now. A lot of them have started encrusting a little bit. They've got polyps out, which is nice to see. Good thing is that a lot of the acros that we have had to test on have been donated to us from fellow reefers and our sponsor Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. So it's good to have those corals that we can chuck in there and see how they go, and then dial in the tank around it basically. So recently we have, as we have before, got some corals from fellow reefers. So we went to our friend Dan from Reef Pure RO.
Looking for an RO system, he is the man. Dan is the man.
Dan is the man for Reef Pure RO. His tank was getting a little bit overgrown, so he asked us if we'd like some frags. So we went over, and first of all, beautiful tank, beautiful tank. He was kind enough to trim back his tank. We actually gave him motivation to trim back his tank.
Sometimes your tank just gets to that point, not that we've had this issue yet, hopefully soon, but that your tank just gets too overgrown. But you actually need that motivation, you need a reason or an excuse to actually cut things back. Otherwise you're just wasting corals, and no one wants to waste corals.
Exactly right.
You spend a lot of time and money and effort to get those corals to where they are, to cut them back and just to throw them in the bin. It just doesn't seem right. So.
And that's where we gladly will come and take your frags.
Mention free and corals, and Darren's there.
Yep. But yeah, we had a great day with Dan looking at his tank and helping him cut back. And then obviously we put them straight into our tank. So from many pieces, we made a nice little mini colony. So this is a blue stag. So I think I'm going to put this behind the clam. What we'll do is we'll go through a whole tour of the tank and show you all the new coral we've got, show you how some of our corals have grown and changed over the last couple of months. Okay, now let's take a tour of Reefzilla and all its corals. Now, minor change right up the front. We got this lovely, lovely scolly here. And I glued it down and realized that when the Duncan is extended, it was actually shading it. So had to move the Duncan over a little bit, which actually makes it nice down here with the dead piece just off the ground. So I've put a little candy cane frag down there. Hopefully that will grow quite nicely in the shade there. So the Duncan is actually wedged under the rock. To get it to stay there, I had to actually lift up the rock a little bit so I could re-wedge it under there. At the same time, I repositioned the clam. The clam had started changing direction and the rock it was sitting on had actually started to fall. So we've repositioned the rock with the clam on top, and now the clam is actually showing a lot more from the front, which is lovely. Obviously, the clam is still looking absolutely spectacular. I really can't fault this clam at all. The mantle extension on it is quite phenomenal. As you can see, the Duncan is still looking spectacular. Look at the extension on those polyps, even when the waves aren't on. And its secondary piece down here, it's just, yeah, I love Duncan. It just does something for me. Got the lovely Lobo down here. Now it's actually growing a little bit of a lighter orange streak on there, so hopefully that will develop more as it grows. Got the lovely Blasto colony down here. It's still looking fat and healthy as ever. Really can't fault that. It's been great from day one and it's just looking better and better the more time it's actually in the reef. The Elegance corals are still doing really, really well under there. Next to that, we've got an Alveopora. This is one we actually picked up from Salty Pets. They actually gave it to us because it was actually bleached when we got it. It's actually coloured up a little bit since we've got it. The candy cane coral over here is looking plump and fat and healthy. It's now got 4 decent sized heads on it. The huge Helio is, yeah, you can't fault that. In the middle here is a Fairy Lights acro. Now it's lost a lot of its colour since we've got it. It still has the Fairy Lights under blues, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happening with it. Now the Cocoa Worm, it has actually got its new heads on. You can see they're mature heads. They're actually in a spiral pattern, whereas before they were more of a brush sort of pattern. We've got a Birds of Paradise frag over here, Seri Atopora, or Bird's Nest. It's actually a couple of frags glued together there to make a bigger colony. Down here on the ground, we've started a little island. I want to try and get some plating Monty down here to grow with Bird's Nest sticking out the top. So let's see if we can get some nice plates happening down there, and then we can always break them off and share them around the reef. This is a lovely little acro we got from Dan. I have no idea what any of these acros are called, but hey, hit me up if you know what they are. Now the Gorgonian is starting to do particularly well. It's really basing out and getting a lot of polyps on the base there. You can see that there. And next to it is a little frag of a Gorgonian we got from Reef Secrets down the Gold Coast. It actually has a second little branch developing on that. The little acro hiding there underneath the clam is basing out and starting to go a bit green. Over here we've got a nice pink bird's nest frag. Well, actually it's more like a mini colony that we got from Nick's aquarium. I really like that. Now this is a blue Yeti frag. That one is from Dan. Now you can see the polyps are starting to extend on this. Someone has been nipping at the tips of it. As you can see, they've been broken off and worn down there. But one or two tips have actually been untouched, and I do believe it is starting to base out a bit, and it's branching from the base, which I hadn't noticed before. So that's exciting. Not quite sure what type of acro this is, but it had a broken off piece which is healed over, so it's actually getting quite nice polyp extension, which is what you want to see from an acro. Really excited to see what sort of color this turns into. It's sort of gone greenish highlights in some cases, and then it's sort of more of a blue base, so I don't really know what color it's going to turn out to be. So this is the other half of the colony at the front of the tank. This was actually very smooth when we first received it. It had no polyp extension, and since we've got it, it's actually grown the little cups on the side and polyps have all poked out. Behind the clam there, we've got some blue stag acro frags. Really want to have the clam framed by acro, so it looks like it's nestled in there. So really excited to see that colony grow. Got a tiny little bird's nest frag there. That was from the original big colony of bird's nest that we got from Scott last year. I saved a couple of tiny little frags, put them in the jar. This one started to grow, so we thought we'd put it back in Reefzilla to see how it goes. Lovely Aussie gold torch there. Still one of my favorites. It's really coloring up nicely. Okay, up the back here, we've got a Hydnophora. So that's a couple of frags put together as a colony. I really wanted to keep that away from everything else because obviously it can sting. And it gives a nice burst of color up the back. We've got some nice Dallas acro. Really looking forward for this to grow into a nice big colony there. Down in the middle we've got a hammer. So these were two heads that broke off of Gordon's hammer that's in his tank. He says I broke them off on purpose. I really didn't. This chalice here had been shaded by the clam, so I'm glad I've got it uncovered now so it can colour up again. Over here we've got a nice green and purple acro. Really nice tall colony. It looks like it does have a little piece of an acro that has grown onto the base there, so I'm not quite sure what that's going to turn into. Anyway, Reefzilla is going pretty well.
Really, really happy with the way things are working. Everything seems to be coming along nicely. The calcium reactor is working nicely. The Apex is doing what it's meant to be doing. Everything just seems to be working. Knock on wood that it stays that way. We haven't had a huge amount of luck with the Reefzilla so far. But let's just hope everything is now up on that upward trend.
If you've liked today's video, like, comment and subscribe.
Like, comment and subscribe.
Like, comment and subscribe, and as always, be excellent to each other and keep it salty, everyone. Bye for now.
See you guys.
Oh!